Finally, we can stop having Bears versus Bears because today the Chicago Bears are going to take the practice field against Cincinnati and the Bengals, and they're going to have a joint practice. So on today's episode, I want to talk about the things to look out most for in that joint practice. The Bears are coming into a practice field. They're going to take on Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, the upgraded Bengals defense. What are the things to look out for? We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, Ben Johnson provided injury updates, both Ozzie Trapillo and Kyler Gordon. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go to get into this content for today, y'all. And so, with that said, it's the day that the Bears have a joint practice against the Cincinnati Bengals. And this one, I think that Ben Johnson has already talked about why there's so much value in joint practice sessions, right? He said this: the Bears can control situations, they can control repetitions, matchups, down and distancing, red zone work, all of that. You get to do all that. And that's unlike a preseason game where you can't stop to really kind of change things in the same way that you can in practice, right? That's why this as a joint practice is so much important as an evaluation, period. And Ben Johnson said this: the scoreboard won't count Thursday, but what happens Thursday could absolutely determine who makes this football team. That's it. He said specifically that competition remains throughout the offense, and they're looking at a lot of this and what comes down to it and how it's going to play off for the Chicago Bears. Direct quote here. He says, "We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. It seems like how big that'll be just to assess where we are as a team. We had a really good staff meeting yesterday with the player day off, just being able to see where we're at. And there's competition throughout the roster right now. Offense, defense, special teams. It's heating up. And I wish there was a little bit more clarity at this point, but there's a lot. I think that's going to make for a really good next 2 weeks as guys try to separate themselves and make it clear that they belong on the 53-man roster or on the practice squad." So that's a lot what it said. And the Bears are expecting to bring the physicality in this one. Like I said it on, when we had a couple of practice, get some kerfuffles in it, is that you basically, like, at some point you get tired of hitting the same person. You need to start, hitting and battling off against some other people. And that's what the Bears are going to have an opportunity to do today, right? Ben Johnson also adding this: we had a lot of physical practices, and yet it's maintained relative order for the most part. And that's the same thing we want to do when we go down to Cincinnati. We want to go and we want to compete and have good, productive physical practices. And yet nobody gets better when we're wallowing around fighting. So let's compete, let's practice, and let's play physically between the whistles. And then when the play is over, let's move on to the next one so we can be productive. So here are the things that we're looking out for in the joint practice. Jesus Christ, my brain wanted to say preseason so bad. We wanted to see against the joint practice. First, I think the number one thing is who's going to actually work with the first team at left tackle, right? Because right now, Braxton Jones is still, out. I don't think he's playing. Karan Amagaje has been moved over to right tackle. Jedrick Wills, he got some looks with the starters as well. Dale Benedict's got some look and some work with the first team. So what's going to happen there? Who's going to get that rep coming up against another team as the left tackle? Because that's probably who your starting left tackle is going to be, at least who maybe have the inside edge. You could tell a little bit of that. So, Ben Johnson did say the left tackle position remains wide open right now, the battle for that position. So they're going to still try to figure that out as the times goes on. But you really are looking at that one and seeing what's going to come of it. And I think that left tackle, the position is hugely important for the Bears. We already know, we have to get that. And then you're looking at some of the battles in the secondary. Malik Muhammad, as he continues to get more opportunities to work with the first team defense, he has taken the opportunity, that the void that was left there by Kyler Gordon, and he's done it. So how does Malik Muhammad perform against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins? How does he do those type of things? How does he perform in those moments? That's going to be hugely important for the Chicago Bears. And Malik Muhammad has the opportunity now against two veterans to go out there and show what he can bring. So listen, this is a trial by fire for Malik Muhammad. And, I would say something like, oh, may not as a rookie want to look at this, but here's the thing. We know When the regular season starts, or even in the preseason, whenever it is, they're going to target Malik Muhammad because he's a rookie cornerback in this league. And that's just how the NFL works. There are some things about the NFL that just stay the same regardless of how you look at it. And one of those things are when you're a young player in that secondary, they're going to make you show that you have it. So that's it. And you look at this secondary already that's been bruised and battered. Coby Bryant out. Kyler Gordon unavailable. Tyrique Stevenson sidelined. So now Malik Muhammad has gotten both start opportunities outside and at the nickel, and that's it. This is the evaluation period. Malik Muhammad wanted this. He wanted an opportunity to earn a role on this team. Now, here you go. You got big opportunities in front of you with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Let's see what you go out and do with it. There may not be a better pair of wide receivers to test somebody. So when you look at it and what you're watching from Malik Muhammad is, can he survive the press man reps? This is going to be really important there. Can they stay kinetic vertically? Because that's what they're going to try to get. That vertical game, they're going to try to get out there. And how do you handle all the motion that they're going to throw at it as well? So you're looking at that. You're looking at also Dylan Thieneman, Xavier Woods. Like, just overall, this Bengals wide receiver core and passing game is a huge test to the Chicago Bears secondary overall. You got to get this together. So how do we fare against that? How do we perform in that? How do our defensive backs perform, especially considering that we have defensive backs that have been riddled with injury? So you got a lot of guys that are in positions that they may have not been in had everybody been healthy. They are thrust to more prominent and more important situations. Malik Muhammad's one of those guys. Dylan Thieneman, Xavier Woods, all these guys. How do we do it? Dennis Allen said this. This is a hell of a challenge for all of our defensive backs to have to go up against this set of receivers and these skilled players. I want to see him go out there and compete. Can we play in man coverage against these guys? Can we run with these guys? That's going to be it. Can we run with them? And we're going to see if our defensive backs can handle that Bengals secondary, because that's a big test. The next part, the Chicago Bears pass rush. We look solid. We look solid in that first preseason game in a way that I think it surprised a lot of people how consistently we were able to get some pressure. Now, I think what this says, Dennis Allen said, that's great. Now let's see you do even better. The Chicago Bears pass rush is one of the biggest concerns that people have heading into this season. They just do, right? And it's a rightful concern to have. We don't know how consistent that pass rush is going to be. We don't know the performance we're going to get in every night. We don't know if we're going to be able to consistently get pressure on quarterbacks. This is a huge chance. You're getting Joe Burrow. This is a huge opportunity to do that. Can Austin Booker get some consistent wins against the offensive line of the Cincinnati Bengals? Can you do that? Can you continue to be on that path? Part of the reason the Chicago Bears team did not invest heavily in the defensive line as far as money is because they wanted to give you and others an opportunity to show what you can bring as young players and prominent players on this team. Let's see what you can do. Marcus Davenport, who's the guy that we just signed. You get an opportunity now early to come in here and show what you can do, right? So looking at that. And then I'll say this, the interior part of the defensive line. I was really impressed with what we saw from the interior part of the defensive line. How do they now perform? Especially because, we may not see the starters here in preseason games. So can the interior defensive line get enough pressure and collapse the pocket consistently enough to make Joe Burrow and others, uncomfortable? And if you can do that, it'd be a great sign for the Chicago Bears. And then also, can you create that pressure without blitzing, constant blitzing? As much when you're able to create pressure from just your front four, your front seven, however you want to look at it, without consistently blitzing, that brings so much more validity to what you're going to do, right? That brings so much more consistency. That's where we see the defensive lines really be able to make that next step. When you can just get pressure from your front four, then it makes when you blitz even more dangerous, but it still keeps offenses on their heels, and that's what you're going to have to do. These young defensive tackles that we talked about, and Jordan Vandenberg, Jaden Loving, like those guys, do they continue to shine? Do they continue to step out and show out in the opportunities they have here? We know what Neville Gallimore and James Lynch, we know what those guys are. These young guys, how do you continue to step up? These young DTs, man, I'm telling y'all, they can make a big difference for the Bears. Some of them may still end up on the practice squad this year like a Jaden Loving, but when you're developing those guys, that's going to be a really big thing here and how you get those guys. So, again, you can get consistent pressure. It brings a lot for the Chicago Bears. And so the pass rush is something that we're looking to improve. Dennis Allen said this in regards to the pass rush. I think the pass rush has been better, and it still needs to improve. That's great. That's crazy. I think it's been better, but we still need to improve. We'll have great opportunity this week in Cincinnati, both in joint practices and in the game. I think the pass rush has improved, and I think it will continue to improve. So, hey, Dennis Allen's laying out there. He wants to see this pass rush make that next step. So go out there and prove it. And then you get to see Caleb Williams against a completely different defense, right? We haven't seen Caleb Williams in a preseason game yet, right? So, this is an important step for Caleb because, he knows Dennis Allen's defense. He gets to see it day in and day out. He knows those players. He knows their strengths. He knows their weaknesses. He knows that. Now with Cincinnati, it's completely different personnel. It's different tendencies. It's different players. And therefore, you have to find different answers than what you find in practice each and every day. And I don't say that to not Caleb Williams. That's what practice is supposed to be for, right? So I think that with this Bears defense, it has been upgraded. How much, we'll see, right? But when you look at the Dexter Lawrence, the Jonathan Allens, right, the boys and those type of things, like, it's there. So I think when you're looking for Caleb, the things that are going to matter in this joint practice are, A, the pre-snap command. How much of a command does he have of that offense in the pre-snap, right? Protection identification, so noticing what's happening, where your protection is, what packages you're seeing out there. Your timing, that's the thing that we need to get with those overthrows, underthrows, all those type of things. You need to do that as well as go through your progressions. And then how do you handle the pressure? They're going to try to put pressure on you, even though it's a joint practice. That shit don't matter. They're about to put pressure on there. And then also I think what happens, when the defense shows you something that you haven't seen in camp. This defense is going to show you something different than what you've seen day in and day out because, again, you've faced off against the same players, the same defense all throughout camp so far. Now you get to see a different look. Now you get to see a different set. You get to see those type of things. How do you handle that? That's going to be a really big part of all of this too. And we're going to see, man. Like, overall, I'll say this is just, it comes down to execution for both the wide receivers, the quarterback, the running game, the tight ends. Everything has to come together. And so there you're going to be in another opportunity too. And then I think too, who else takes the most of their opportunity here? Who's going to make the most of the opportunities that are here? Everything for guys like Caden Davis is all opportunities to show and prove, right? Like, that's what you're looking at for guys like this. Jahdae Walker, continue to show and prove. Like, you just want to take the advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you. And that's what has to be laid out here. And I think that's what, we've continued to see. We've seen it for a while now. Like, we have undrafted free agents every single offseason that stand out and end up making the team and end up carving out a role for themselves for a couple of years. So we got to see. And then the last question is that does Ben Johnson see enough from the starters in this joint practice to where he continues to feel comfortable not needing to play the starters in preseason? That's really it, right? Johnson said this directly. It depends on what joint practice looks like for the team. And there's a certain number of reps we're trying to hit, and we'll see where we're at after the joint practice. So do the starters show enough to where Ben Johnson continues? And I think that says a lot, especially because, again, you're coming up against a different defense than what you've seen day in and day out. And so because of that, if you show a lot in this joint practice, Ben Johnson's going to continue to feel comfortable not needing to play you guys in preseason games, which then again, hopefully safeguards anybody from getting hurt. And oh, by the way, don't get hurt in the joint practice. And that's on both sides. I don't want to see anybody get hurt in the joint practice. Let's not do that. We've had enough injuries. We have injuries every single day coming up against our own guys. No injuries for us or the Bengals. Just for karma's sake, I don't want to see no injuries in the joint practice. Go out there, be competitive, play tough, have fun. No actual injuries, right? And kerfuffles, they're going to happen. Peter's going to get a little banged up. That's going to happen. But no actual injuries coming out of the joint practice. Please, for the love of God, please. Now, with that said, we got injury updates coming from Ben Johnson directly. I love it when stuff comes from Ben Johnson because then, it leaves any and all questions kind of closed. So first about Ozzie Trapillo, he was asked about Ozzie and he said this. Physically, we feel really good where he's at. Now it's a race to see how quickly he can rebuild that confidence. We feel like this is a good opportunity over the course of training camp with the padded practices we're going to have to start building up that confidence again. So it seems like what it stands like right now, and this, again, me reading the tea leaves, this is not what's being reported. This is my personal opinion. It seems like Isaac Trapillo's fully healed from whatever he needs to heal from as far as the just healing from the surgery part, right? There's a different level of physicality that you also have to get to play NFL football. And so and the thing that you don't want to do is second guess. So when Ben Johnson talks about confidence, he's talking about confidence in his body. So that way he's not out there overthinking. And that's the last thing that you want, because when you tend to overthink, that's when you can re-injure something, or you put pressure on a different part of your body and injure a different part, right? So just because Ozzie Trapillo has been recovered from the physically unable to perform list, it does not mean that he's going to be healthy once the regular season starts. As we keep drilling home, the Bears are going to play this one extremely safe. He could start the season off on injury reserve, which would then give him 4 or 5 weeks before he has to make a return, right? But the reps in the padded practice, that is what the Bears are valuing right now, because they feel like that's going to help him get the confidence that he needs to get over whatever mental part after the injury. And I love that they do that. Like Ozzy Trapillo's making great and amazing process. Let's keep going along that progress. It's gonna take some time, but you don't have to rush it. You do not have to rush it. There's no point in rushing Ozzy Trapillo back. You got to feel confident in what you have here in the left tackle to be able to hold it down until Ozzy Trapillo can come back. And then, like I've said many times too, just because Ozzy Trapillo gets cleared, and even when he gets back, it may still be a upward, climb for him to get back into that starting lineup. They may not immediately throw him into the starting lineup right away. So, we'll see what happens in regards to that one. We also did get a minor injury update on Tyrique Stevenson. It does say that Tyrique Stevenson, they do feel that he's going to be returning sooner rather than later, and they actually have a pretty good confidence in his ability to redeem himself coming into the season. This came from CHGO that said this. He is improving. Obviously, we'll need him out there so he can continue to improve. As with a lot of guys, it's a work in progress. So it seems like he's making steps in the right direction. Again, you never want to lose reps when you don't have to. Now, a veteran like Tyrique Stevenson at this point, him losing out on some preseason reps isn't the biggest deal. We need Tyrique Stevenson locked in. We're going to need him to play that physical style that we know that he can play with. He's going to have to do that and do it consistently this year. If he can, there's going to be huge upside in what he can potentially be. So we're going to see. And then the update on Kyler Gordon. And like with most things, at this point, I don't even know if I should still give Kyler Gordon updates because it's clear. They don't know what the hell is going on. Ben Johnson was asked if there's any updates in regards to Kyler Gordon and his potential return, and he said this. There's nothing to add right now. There's nothing to add right now. He did say that he sees Gordon in the building and that he's rehabbing and that there's a plan that he's working toward that plan. So, take that for what you will. Listen, the fact that there's progress is good. And like I've said many times before, separate the narrative from writers from what we actually know that's happening for a fact. The only thing that we know that's happening for a fact is that there is some frustration on Kyler Gordon not being able to be on the field. Reportedly, Kyler Gordon's also frustrated about his inability to get out on the field. They want him out there. That's it. All the things about his work, his commitment to getting back, all those type of things, that's all speculation. That could all be headline material. What we know is I'm going off what Ben Johnson said. There's nothing to add, but he's making progress. And hopefully that progress leads him to be healthy by week 1. Like I said, if Kyler Gordon's healthy by week 1 and the start of the season, and let's say he only misses 2 or 3 games like he did his first years before missing all the game last year, no harm, no foul. Go out there and prove it on the football field. But the narratives are just going to keep getting louder the longer that he's not out there on the field and the less and less updates that we have. So, hopefully he's able to get back out there. Nothing, no harm, no foul against Kyler. Like I said, if there are some things about cancer in the locker room, cut it out. That's not Kyler Gordon specific. That's there for everybody. If you turn to start being, a cancer in the locker room. But other than that, like, this is a kid that wants to play. This is a kid that wants to compete. This is a kid that wants to fight. And for all intents and purposes, like from what we know, Kyler Gordon is just as frustrated that he's not out there on the field, ready to go to battle, and that he wants to do that. And we're going to see what happens with Kyler Gordon in regards to that one. With that said, I know it's going to lead to some frustrations. You guys can sound off in the comments on how you feel about it because I know Bears fans, and they're going to have their takes on it. Then let's end this with Press Taylor, the Chicago Bears offensive coordinator, and comments that he had on Caden Davis, who's been a preseason darling for the Chicago Bears. Press Taylor saying this. He's done a great job. And it's like you said, he continues to produce when the opportunities he's been given. You've got to put wins to tape. He had a contested catch on the sideline over there. He had a couple of other plays. He did a good job blocking. We had a big third down conversion on a run early with Roschon, where he shows up, he's blocking the safety. Kind of springs us for our longest run of the day. He put a lot of good things on tape, and he's continued to do that. So that's really all you can ask for those guys. They make the most of their opportunities, and he's continued to do that. And I think that's why you see more and more opportunities go his way. Caden Davis is one of the darlings of this offseason. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? And so when you look at it, everybody focuses on the 4 catches for 88 yards, and that's big because that's a big production, right? But the coaching staff is pointing out how he does blocking, right? How that happens. Those are things that make fringe NFL players, fringe wide receivers make NFL rosters. When you're able to do the small things that help the team make forward plays in progress. So catch passes, block, special teams, right? Don't make the mental mistakes, as well out there. The quickest way for Caden Davis to make this team isn't becoming the wide receiver 1 or 2, because we know that's not going to happen, but it's becoming impossible for Ben Johnson to find a reason to say Caden Davis shouldn't be on this field. And that's what Caden Davis is really doing. He's making the most of his opportunities, and he's doing everything right with the chances that he got. Now it's just about, does that result in him still going on the practice squad, or does he make the final 53? We're going to see. Let me know your thoughts down below on Caden Davis. How do you feel about him? How do you feel about his chances to make the final 53-man roster? Let me know that down below. But that's going to do it for today's episode, y'all. Make sure you guys are following us. Well, first, before that, sound off in the comment section on all the topics that we discussed today. Love to hear your guys' thoughts and everything below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. You can follow us at Chi Bear Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related. And that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.